Commander Yuto walked slowly around the large metal table in the center of the war room. His 4 purple eyes moved back and forth as he read the papers in front of him. The room was quiet except for the soft humming of the air machines in the walls. "So," he said in his deep voice, "the humans want to fight us." General Kira stood up from her chair. She was twice as tall as any human, with thick gray skin that looked like stone. Her 6 arms crossed over her chest as she made a clicking sound with her mouth. "Not fight, Commander. They want to play war games with us." Captain Lee Minho sat at the far end of the table. He was much smaller than the aliens around him, wearing a simple green uniform with no fancy decorations. His black hair was cut short and neat. Next to him sat Lieutenant Kim So-ra, a young woman with bright eyes who kept looking at the alien technology around the room. "We call it military simulation," Lee Minho said with a small smile. "No one gets hurt. We use special weapons that only make lights and sounds. It helps soldiers learn without real danger." Commander Yuto's 4 eyes all focused on the human captain. "And why do you want this simulation with us?" "To learn from each other," Kim So-ra answered quickly. "Humans are new to space. We want to understand how galactic warfare works." The other aliens in the room made soft laughing sounds. General Kira's mandibles clicked faster. "How nice. The baby species wants to learn from the adults." Captain Vel, who looked like a giant bluefish with legs, swam through the air using his special suit. "I have studied human military history. Very basic. They still use metal bullets and chemical explosives. Their largest war machines are smaller than our scout ships. Their tactics are simple too," added Colonel Nex, whose wings were folded against his thin body. "They fight on the ground like animals. No grace, no art, no real strategy." Lee Minho nodded politely as each alien spoke. Kim So-ra wrote notes on a small electronic pad, but her face showed no anger at their words. "We understand we have much to learn," Lee Minho said. "That is why we propose this exercise, a planetary assault scenario. Your forces will defend a world, and our forces will try to take it." "How many of your soldiers?" Commander Yuto asked. 200 humans, Kim So-ra replied. "Mixed units. Infantry, support, command staff." General Kira laughed so hard her whole body shook. 200? We were thinking of sending 5,000 of our best troops. This will not be fair." "Actually," Lee Minho said, still smiling, "we were hoping you might send more." The room became very quiet. Commander Yuto's eyes moved between his officers, then back to the humans. "More? 10,000 would be better," Kim So-ra said, looking up from her notes. "Maybe 15,000 if you can spare them." Captain Vel stopped floating and settled onto the floor with a wet thud. "You want 15,000 of our elite soldiers to fight against 200 humans?" "In simulation only," Lee Minho reminded them. "Safe weapons, medical team standing by, full monitoring of all activities." Colonel Nex spread his wings slightly. "This is either very brave or very stupid." "Maybe both," Kim So-ra said with a laugh. Commander Yuto walked to the large window that showed the space station's view of the galaxy. Thousands of stars twinkled in the darkness. "What are the victory conditions?" "Simple," Lee Minho stood up and moved to a wall display. "The planet has 3 major cities and 1 spaceport. Your forces must hold at least 2 cities in the spaceport for 72 hours. Our forces must capture and hold at least 2 cities and the spaceport for 24 hours. "That seems fair," General Kira said, "though I do not understand why you need so few hours to win." "Human operations tend to be fast," Kim So-ra explained. Commander Yuto turned back to face the table. "What weapons will we use?" "Standard simulation equipment," Lee Minho replied. "Laser tag systems, paint rounds, electronic warfare simulators. Everything will record hits and track casualties. When a soldier is killed in the simulation, they must stop fighting and report to medical stations." "And the terrain?" Colonel Nex asked. "Mixed," Kim So-ra answered. "Cities, forests, mountains, rivers, desert. Full weather simulation including rain and sandstorms." Captain Vel made bubbling sounds that meant he was thinking. What about air support? Available to both sides, Lee Min-ho said. Aircraft, orbital, support supply drops, medical evacuation. Just like real warfare, but safe. Commander Yuto looked at each of his officers. General Kira nodded. Captain Vel made more bubbling sounds and nodded too. Colonel Nex folded his wings and gave a sharp nod. Very well, Commander Yuto said. We accept your challenge. When do we begin? 2 weeks, Kim Sora replied. That gives everyone time to prepare. As the aliens filed out of the room, General Kira stopped next to Lee Min-ho. You seem very confident for someone whose species just learned to travel between stars. Lee Min-ho looked up at the towering alien general. We are looking forward to learning from you, General. After the aliens left, Kim Sora closed her notes and looked at her captain. Think they bought it? Completely, Lee Min-ho replied, his smile growing wider. General Kira stood in the center of the massive planning room, watching her officers move around the holographic display like dancers. In a careful ballet, the three-dimensional image showed every hill, river, and building on the simulation planet. Red dots marked defensive positions while blue lines showed patrol routes. Perfect formations, she said with satisfaction. Colonel Dex, report on air superiority preparations. Colonel Nex spread his wings and pointed to the sky above the holographic planet. 40 fighter craft in diamond formations. They will patrol in shifts, never leaving any area undefended for more than 6 minutes. The humans have only 12 aircraft. Mathematics says we cannot lose. Captain Vel's water suit made soft gurgling sounds as he moved around the display. My amphibious forces will control all water approaches. 75% of the planet is covered by oceans and rivers. Humans are weak swimmers. They cannot possibly surprise us from the water. Excellent. General Kira used her 6 arms to point at different sections of the holographic world. Ground forces will be positioned here, here, and here. Perfect triangular coverage. Any human attack must come through our overlapping fields of fire. Commander Yuto entered the room carrying a thick electronic tablet. Intelligence report on human forces, he announced. They have primitive equipment, basic kinetic weapons, chemical explosives, simple communication devices. Their vehicles are slow and poorly armored. What about their tactics? Asked Captain Vel. Very basic, Commander Yuto replied, scrolling through pages of data. They prefer direct assault. Human military history shows they usually attack the strongest point with overwhelming numbers. Since they have small numbers, they will likely try to concentrate all forces on one target. General Kira clicked her mandibles in amusement. Which target do you predict? The spaceport, Colonel Nex said immediately. It is the most valuable strategic asset. Control the spaceport, control the planet. Agreed, said Captain Vel. We should place our heaviest defenses there. On the other side of the base, in a much smaller room, the human forces were having their planning meeting. Captain Lee Min-ho sat on a simple metal chair, eating from a bag of snacks while Lieutenant Kim So-ra drew pictures on a whiteboard with colored markers. So the fish people will control all the water, she said, drawing blue circles around the planet's oceans. The bird people will own the sky. She added wing symbols above the planet. And the rock people will dig in at the strongest defensive positions. She drew thick walls around the 3 cities. Sergeant Park Ji-woo raised his hand. What about their space support? They will have orbital platforms here, here, and here, Private Han Soo-jin answered, pointing at her small tablet. Computer. Standard galactic military doctrine. They put their big guns where they expect us to attack. Which is where? Asked Corporal Choi Da-bin. The spaceport, everyone said at the same time, then laughed. Lee Min-ho stood up and walked to the white board. So they expect us to attack the most defended position with our smallest force against their largest force using inferior weapons and basic tactics. Pretty much, Kim So-ra replied, capping her marker. Perfect, Lee Min-ho said with a grin. Back in the Alien Command Center, final preparations were underway. General Kira reviewed supply lines on her personal display. Everything was calculated precisely. Food deliveries every 8 hours. Ammunition, resupply every 4 hours. medical stations positioned at optimal distances for quick casualty evacuation. The humans will run out of supplies within 18 hours, she told her staff. Their logistics are inefficient. They carry too much unnecessary equipment and not enough essential materials. Colonel Nex was studying human communication patterns. They use very simple radio frequencies, easy to monitor, easy to jam. We will know their plans before they execute them. Their leadership structure is also weak, added Captain Vell. 2. Many decisions require approval from multiple commanders. They will be slow to adapt when we counter their attacks. Commander Yuto nodded approvingly. This will be an excellent training exercise for our junior officers. They will learn how to fight primitive species that might join the galactic community in the future. Meanwhile, in the human barracks, soldiers were checking their equipment. But they were not checking weapons or armor. Specialist Moon Ye-jin was testing small electronic devices that looked like toys. Private Lee Jae-sung was practicing voices, making himself sound like different alien species. "Can you do the clicking sound the rock people make?" asked Corporal. Kim Tae-hyun, Lee Jae-sung made a perfect clicking noise with his tongue. "Easy. The bird people are harder. Their voices are very high." "What about the fish people?" asked Private Yoon Mi-ra. "Bubble sounds," Lee Jae-sung replied, making gurgling noises that sounded exactly like Captain Vell's water suit. Kim So-ra walked through the barracks, watching her soldiers prepare. "Remember, everyone, the aliens think we are stupid, slow, and predictable. They think our equipment is primitive and our tactics are basic. Are we going to prove them wrong?" asked Sergeant Oh Dong-min. "No," Kim So-ra replied with a smile. "We are going to prove them right, and then we are going to win anyway." Lee Min-ho joined the group carrying a cup of coffee. "Final briefing in 1 hour. Get some rest, everyone. Tomorrow is going to be very interesting." As the humans settled down for the night, the aliens continued planning until dawn, perfecting every detail of their defensive strategy. The sun rose over the simulation planet like a bright orange ball. In the alien command center, General Kira watched dozens of screens showing her perfectly positioned forces. Green dots represented her soldiers, all in the right places according to the plan. "Begin operation," she announced into her headset. Colonel Nex launched his air patrol immediately. 40 fighter craft rose into the morning sky in perfect diamond formations. Their sensors swept the ground below, looking for human movement. "Contact," reported Wing Leader Zek. "Large human force moving toward the spaceport. Approximately 100 soldiers with vehicles." General Kira smiled. "Exactly as predicted. They are attacking our strongest position with their main force." Captain Vell's amphibious units moved into position around the coastal areas. His sensors showed no human activity near any water. "Humans avoiding water zones as expected," he reported. "All aquatic approaches secure." But something was wrong. Wing Leader Zek's voice crackled over the radio with confusion. "General, the human force at the spaceport. They are not moving, like soldiers." "Explain," General Kira ordered. "They are walking very slowly. Some are sitting down. Others appear to be talking to each other loudly about unimportant things." General Kira zoomed her camera view on the human force. She could see soldiers sitting on boxes, eating food and having casual conversations. Some were even taking photographs of the scenery. "What are they doing?" she asked Commander Yuto. Before he could answer, explosions erupted across multiple screens. Red warning lights flashed throughout the command center. "Report!" General Kira shouted. "City 1 is under attack," called Captain Dorr from his defensive position. "Humans appeared from nowhere. They are inside our perimeter." "Impossible," General Kira replied. "All human forces are at the spaceport." "Negative, General. I count 50 humans with full combat gear. They bypassed all our sensors somehow." On another screen, more explosions lit up City 2. Captain Vell's underwater sensors detected nothing, but human combat divers were somehow attacking his coastal defenses from the ocean. "How did they get past my underwater patrols?" Captain Vell demanded, bubbles streaming from his suit in agitation. Senior Sergeant Kim Tae-hyun's voice came over the captured alien radio frequency. He spoke in perfect alien language with a bubbling accent that sounded exactly like Captain Vell. Patrol 7 to Base Command. Reporting successful completion of underwater sweep. All sectors clear. Moving to secondary positions as ordered. Captain. Fell's eyes widened. That was not my order. Who is Patrol 7? But it was too late. The fake patrol report had convinced the other underwater units to move away from their positions, leaving gaps in the defenses that the real human divers had, used to attack. In the sky, Colonel Nex was facing his own problems. General, I cannot locate the main human air force. Our sensors show only 3 aircraft, but ground reports indicate attacks from multiple directions. What Colonel Nex did not know was that Corporal Choi Da-bin's team had placed small electronic devices throughout the forest. These devices broadcasted fake aircraft signals, making it appear that human fighters were everywhere at once. "Mayday! Mayday!" came a panicked voice over the alien military frequency. "This is Fighter Squadron Blue. We are taking heavy fire from surface-to-air missiles, requesting immediate support." Colonel Nex quickly redirected half his air force to help Fighter Squadron Blue. But there was no Fighter Squadron Blue. Private Lee Jae-sung was sitting in a hidden bunker, using a radio and speaking in perfect alien military language. "All units, this is Commander Yudo," came another voice over the radio. "Change to emergency frequency 77 Alpha immediately. Primary communications have been compromised." The real Commander Yuto was standing right next to General Kira. "I did not give that order," he said quietly. But across the battlefield, alien units were switching to the new frequency, which was controlled by Specialist Moon Yejin's electronic warfare team. Now the humans could hear every alien communication and send false orders whenever they wanted. At the spaceport, the lazy human soldiers suddenly became very active. They threw off their outer uniforms, revealing combat gear underneath. The boxes they had been sitting on opened to reveal weapons and equipment. "Surprise attack at spaceport," reported the defensive commander. "The humans were disguised. They are already inside our outer defenses." Lieutenant Kim So-ra led this group, personally. While the aliens had been watching them act like tourists, her engineers had been secretly mapping every defensive position and identifying weak points in the alien setup. General Kira stared at her screens in shock. Red warning lights flashed from all 3 cities in the spaceport. Her perfectly planned defense was falling apart in the first hour of combat. "How are they doing this?" she asked Commander Yuto. "They are not following proper military procedures," he replied, checking his tactical manual. "These tactics are not in any galactic warfare textbook." Captain Lee Minho's voice suddenly came over the alien command frequency, speaking in clear galactic standard language. "Good morning, General Kira. Nice weather for a war game, isn't it?" "How did you get this frequency?" General Kira demanded. "We asked nicely," Lee Minho replied. "Your communications officer was very helpful. He thought we were technical support calling to fix his radio problems." General Kira looked at her communications officer, who was staring at his equipment in confusion. "But they knew all the right security codes," he said weakly. "Yes." Lee Minho continued over the radio. "Thank you for those, by the way. Very organized filing system you have there." General Kira slammed her 6 fists on the command table. Red warning lights flashed across every screen in the room. Half of her forces were already marked as casualties in the simulation, and the morning was not even over. "New plan," she announced to her remaining officers. "We adapt. Humans think they are clever, but we have superior numbers and technology." Commander Yuto pointed at the tactical display. "All remaining units fall back to secondary positions. Create new defensive lines around City 3. We still control the high ground there." Colonel Nex folded his wings tightly against his body. "My air units will sweep the entire battlefield. No more human tricks. We will find every hidden position and destroy them." Captain Vell made angry, bubbling sounds. "I am moving all amphibious forces to land operations. These humans somehow learned to swim, but they cannot hide from direct assault." The alien forces began their new strategy immediately. Colonel Nex sent his fighter craft in wide search patterns, scanning every tree and rock formation. Captain Vell's troops marched inland from the coasts, their sensors set to maximum range. But within minutes, strange things started happening again. "Colonel Nex," came a voice over the military radio. "This is ground control. We have identified a large human airbase hidden in Grid 77. Request immediate bombing run. Colonel Nex checked his maps. Grid 77 was empty forest according to his intelligence reports. Ground control, confirm location of airbase. Confirmed, sir. Satellite imagery shows aircraft hangars and fuel depots. High priority target. Colonel Nex redirected 12 of his best fighters to attack Grid 77. They found nothing but trees and rocks. While they were searching the empty forest, real human aircraft attacked the alien supply depot 50 kilometers away. This is impossible, Colonel Nex shouted. Who gave that bombing order? Private Han Soo-jin sat in her communications bunker, switching between different radio frequencies. She had been pretending to be ground control for 20 minutes, sending alien aircraft to attack empty locations while human forces hit real targets. Meanwhile, Captain Vell's ground forces were having their own problems. They had marched 15 kilometers inland when they received new orders. All amphibious units, came a voice that sounded exactly like Captain Vell. Intelligence reports human reinforcements landing at Beach Alpha. All units return to coastal defense immediately. The real Captain Vell was standing in the command center. I did not give that order, he told General Kira. But his troops were already turning around, marching back toward the coast. Corporal Kim Tae-hyun had learned to copy Captain Vell's bubbling speech perfectly. While the alien amphibious forces were marching to defend an empty beach, human ground teams captured 2 more strategic positions inland. General Kira realized they were losing the information war. Cut all radio communications, she ordered. We will use only direct visual signals and personal messengers. Commander Yuto nodded. Smart decision. Humans cannot intercept flag signals and messenger birds. But the humans had anticipated this, too. Sergeant Park Ji-woo's reconnaissance team had been watching alien communication patterns for weeks. They knew exactly which messenger routes the aliens would use. Messenger bird incoming, reported Private Yoon Mira from her hidden position in a tall tree. Intercepting now. She used a simple net to catch the alien messenger bird, then read the message it was carrying. The message contained new defensive positions for the remaining alien forces. 5 minutes later, human artillery began targeting those exact positions. The aliens tried using flag signals next. Colonel Nex positioned himself on a high tower, using colored flags to send orders to his scattered air units. But Private Lee Jae-sung was watching through binoculars from another tower, copying every signal. Flag message says, attack grid 42. He reported to his team leader. Specialist Moon Ye-jin immediately sent the same flag signals from a different tower, but with one small change. Instead of attack grid 42, her flag said, attack grid 24. Half of Colonel Nex's air force attacked the wrong target, hitting their own ground troops by mistake. By afternoon, General Kira was desperate. She gathered her remaining officers for an emergency meeting. These humans are reading our minds, she said. Every plan we make, they counter before we execute it. Perhaps we should negotiate, suggested Commander Yuto. Offer them partial victory in exchange for ending this embarrassment. Captain Vell made sad bubbling sounds. My entire amphibious force has been eliminated. They convinced half my troops to attack the other half by pretending to be me on the radio. My air superiority is gone, Colonel Nex admitted. Every time I send fighters to attack, they end up bombing empty ground while humans hit our real positions. General Kira looked at the tactical display. The humans now controlled 2 cities and were attacking the third. The spaceport was completely surrounded. Her forces were scattered, confused, and running low on supplies. How many human casualties, she asked. Commander Yuto checked his tablet. 17. 17? General Kira could not believe it. We started with 10,000 troops. They started with 200. We have lost 8,000 soldiers and they have lost 17. The simulation computers do not lie, General. Through the command center windows, they could see human aircraft flying overhead. But instead of attacking, the aircraft were dropping leaflets. General Kira picked up one of the leaflets. It was written in perfect galactic standard language. Attention alien forces, she read aloud. You are surrounded. Your communications are compromised. Your supply lines are cut. Surrender now and avoid further embarrassment. Signed, Captain Lee Min-ho, Earth Defense Corps. At the bottom of the leaflet was a simple drawing of a human soldier waving hello. The simulation ended at sunset with a loud buzzer that echoed across the entire planet. General Kira sat in her command chair, staring at the final statistics on her screen. The numbers were impossible to believe, but the simulation computers never lied. Human forces, 97% combat effective. All primary objectives secured. Alien forces, 12% combat effective. All objectives lost. Total simulation time, 14 hours and 32 minutes. Commander Yuto walked slowly into the command center, his four eyes dim with exhaustion. Behind him came Colonel Nex, his wings dragging on the floor, and Captain Vel, whose water suit made quiet, defeated, bubbling sounds. Final casualty report, Commander Yuto said quietly, placing his tablet on the table. We lost 8,426 soldiers. The humans lost 19. General Kira closed her eyes. In her 300 years of military service, she had never experienced such a complete defeat. How? She whispered. The door to the command center opened, and Captain Lee Min-ho walked in with his team. Lieutenant Kim So-ra carried a small, electronic device. Sergeant Park Ji-woo held a folder full of papers. The humans looked tired but happy. Good simulation, Lee Min-ho said with a respectful bow. Your forces fought with great courage and skill. Do not mock us, General Kira replied. Explain what happened here. Lee Min-ho pulled out a chair and sat down across from the alien commanders. You want to know how we won? Yes, said Colonel Nex. Your tactics made no sense. You ignored every rule of proper warfare. Kim So-ra activated her electronic device and a holographic display appeared above the table. It showed a timeline of the entire battle. You prepared for the war you knew, she said. We prepared for the war that was happening. Explain this, Commander Yuto demanded. Lee Min-ho pointed to the first part of the timeline. Your species developed warfare as extensions of your natural abilities. Colonel Nex, your people can fly, so you developed air superiority tactics. Captain Vel, your people live in water, so you control sea approaches. General Kira, your people are strong and tough, so you build defensive positions and hold ground. These are proper military strategies, General Kira insisted. For fighting other species like yourselves, Park Ji-woo said, opening his folder. But humans did not develop warfare against aliens. We developed it against other humans. Kim So-ra. Change the holographic display to show Earth's history. For thousands of years, humans fought other humans. Same biology, same intelligence, same basic tools. We could not win through superior strength or natural abilities. So what did you do? Asked Captain Vel. We got creative, Lee Min-ho replied. When everyone has the same weapons, you must find different ways to use them. When everyone has the same intelligence, you must think differently than they expect. The hologram showed examples from human military history. Ancient armies using fake retreats to lure enemies into traps. Medieval knights pretending to surrender to get close to castle walls. Modern soldiers using deception and misdirection to confuse opponents. Every human military leader studied the same problem, Park Ji-woo explained. How do you defeat an enemy who is exactly like you? The answer is, you do not fight the battle they expect. Commander Yuto leaned forward. But we have superior technology. Better weapons, faster ships, stronger armor. Technology is just tools, Kim So-ra said. The person using the tools is more important than the tools themselves. You have better hammers, but we know different ways to build. General Kira made frustrated clicking sounds. Give us specific examples. How did you intercept our communications? So easily. Lee Min-ho smiled. We called your radio operators and pretended to be technical support. When they asked for our credentials, we said we were from the IT department and needed their help to fix a system problem. They gave us all their passwords willingly. That is not possible, Colonel Nex protested. Our security protocols prevent that. Your security protocols protect against military attacks, Kim So-ra replied. They do not protect against friendly phone calls from helpful technicians who just want to solve computer problems. Captain Vell made confused, bubbling sounds. But our messenger birds and flag signals. We watched your communication patterns for weeks before the simulation, Park Ji-woo said. We knew exactly how you would adapt when we cut your radios. Humans have been intercepting enemy messages for thousands of years. Commander Yuto shook his head slowly. But the false orders, the fake radio calls, convincing our troops to attack each other. Social engineering, Lee Min-ho explained. Humans learned long ago that the weakest part of any military system is not the technology or the weapons. It is the people. If you can convince people to do what you want, you do not need to force them. General Kira stood up and walked to the window. Outside, human and alien soldiers were shaking hands and sharing food around campfires. The simulation was over, but the learning was just beginning. We underestimated you completely, she admitted. Everyone does, Kim So-ra said gently. That is why simulated combat with humans is a bad idea. We do not just win battles. We change what warfare means. Lee Min-ho stood up and bowed again. Thank you for this opportunity to learn together. We hope this simulation was educational for everyone. 6 months later, every military academy in the galaxy added a new required course to their curriculum: Human Military Psychology and Unconventional Warfare Tactics. The course was taught by human instructors.